Hello everybody, and welcome to Roll Together RPG, and to the next episode of our What the Heck Does That Card Do series. My name is Josh, I shall be one of your hosts for tonight, and finally, they have ascended to their throne. It is Chris.
Hello. I'm in my throne, I'm in my living room. The internet connection is being rubbish in the office, so I'm here. You get to see me in my wingback chair.
Taking the load off.
Oh yeah, this is... To be fair, because most of my day is spent in childcare, this is where I sit most of the day. This is my throne. You are correct.
There you go. Exactly. And this is mine. This is where I spend most of my day, or on my bed, because bad back. Anyway, today we are going to be doing what we usually do in this series. For anybody who is new to this show, we like to take the legendary creatures that you find within Commander, or within Magic the Gathering, sorry, because, you know, that's the whole thing. Legendary creatures, legendary vehicles, legendary anything, things that can actually be your commander. We like to talk about them. We might give you some of the more popular options to put into your decks, like you might find on the EDH rec page or other websites that you may use to sift through and see what cards are good to go into your decks. But we also like to talk about the oddballs, cards that you may not have heard of, cards that may have come from this really obscure set from a long time ago that people don't really pay much attention to anymore. Unfortunately, I feel like that's where Assassin's Creed is beginning to fall, which is sad because there are a lot of great cards in Assassin's Creed.
Oh, sorry, no, I think I fundamentally disagree with that. I think Assassin's Creed is a prime example of where Universes Beyond hits its key market demographic, which is people who like Assassin's Creed real hard, but it left the rest of the player base cold, like Spider-Man has. Like, they're cards that will be like snorted at with derision, looked down upon, like an ooh, you're playing one of those cards, like that sort of thing. But actually, there's some real bangers in there, and people dismiss them at their peril. That's all I say. Like, you can be dismissive if you like, but you know.
Yeah, it's becoming one of those obscure sets now. That's like the what's one of the really old sets from the early 90s, like from the late 90s, early 2000s, that's sort of obscure.
Torment, Onslaught. These are all block sets. Core set 2021.
There you go, sets that are forgotten about, and that's where I feel Assassin's Creed's going to be going. Anyway, today we're not talking about any Universes Beyond Commanders, at least not in this episode. We are talking about, in fact, this one is from March of the Machines.
Another set has kind of fallen by the wayside because it was their first attempt at small packs. Their first attempt at trying to do fewer cards in the pack, more rares. I think there was a whole idea behind it, but it didn't work. They ended up conflating a bunch of other sets and expanding others, and I think it was an error.
Yeah,
a big old error.
This is this particular commander is Tyvar the Bellicose.
Bellicose.
Yeah, that's how I'd say that. And yeah. I'm looking at him on Scryfall currently, and I've just clicked on view all versions of him, and one of his alternative arts is absolutely amazing, and I want it. So I might have to go finding that one. Anyway.
Well, Tyvar's a very interesting character, because Tyvar...
Yes. He has a lot of cards.
Well, he was introduced in Kaldheim as a new Planeswalker, and unlike a lot of the Planeswalkers in Magic, who tend to be quite... very powerful but not very relatable, Tyvar is a big, brash, arrogant jock dude who likes to punch things and is very, very relatable. Tyvar's also he was sort of comic relief from the get-go, like hero/comic relief, anti-hero vibes. So there was a lot of Tyvar punches it kind of interactions that made him quite a fan favorite, and meant that he's post-War of the Spark, but he survived the Phyrexian invasion. He got desparked. That's what this card is. It's his first non-Planeswalker card. And then he's in Duskmourn and managed to survive that too, which is a crazy set of House of Horrors nightmares. So yeah, he's a very well-liked character, I think is the way to put it.
Well, the way you just described like how his characterization is being the comic relief, but also kind of serious, that's just my bread and butter. That is, so no wonder I made him as my commander. Anyway, getting into Tyvar, he costs a green, black, and 2 to cast. He has a whopping 5 power and 4 toughness for a 4 cost.
Yeah, that's good.
which is really good. He's an elf warrior, and his effect is whenever one or more elves you control attack, they gain Death Touch until end of turn. Fantastic. Each creature you control has, whenever a mana ability of this creature resolves, put a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the amount of mana this creature produced. This ability triggers only once each turn. So looking at the card, you instantly think, wall of text. Very simple though, wall of text.
Yeah, I mean, simple's a strong word because simple cards for me are like it has a couple of keywords and then whenever X draw a card. Like there are easily grokkable things, and this one is not that. Like on the face of it, he works perfectly as an elf commander. He's designed to be like an elf commander. Whenever one or more elves you control attack, they gain Death Touch at the end of turn. Easy, you attack with elves, they become a lot more dangerous. And Death Touch is usually, I mean, for my money, a much better defensive keyword than an attacking keyword. Because Death Touch on defense means if something attacks you, no matter how big it is, if it's got trample, doesn't matter, at the end of combat, it will die. So Death Touch on offense means that what you're saying to your opponents is, if you block my creatures, your creatures will die. My creatures might die too. They might be smaller, they might be less effective. But effectively, Tyvar's working in a kind of attacking as if you block my creatures, you will lose your creatures kind of vibe. So trying to aim for wide boards that punch through, which is very elfy. It's just taking elf in a slightly different direction.
It's very aggressive, especially in the colours that it is as well. It's very aggressive.
Yeah, these are classic elf colours. Elves on most worlds in Magic tend to be green. They're sometimes black. Lorwyn in particular, they had a strong black leaning because they were, fascists. Fascists as well, of all things.
I've seen that one of the most popular sort of commander colours for elves is actually Selesny, which is green-white.
You're kidding. What elves
ones.
are what? Not really white elves.
It was on an article I read. It was
Reese the Redeemed, I suppose. Yeah, there are
at the time of recording this, the Commander panel has recently done an update to the bracket system and everything. And one of the conversations that they had was talking about hybrid mana and potentially changing it so it can go into any mono-coloured deck. And there were some conversations around some of the cards, and one of them, the article
Reese
is
the
on,
Redeemed.
You can find it.
It's Reese the Redeemed. Reese the Redeemed is a hybrid, green-white.
Yeah. And in the article it says about how elves are most commonly found in those Selesny colours.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
I read that and I thought, I've only ever seen either black or green elves. I've seen the odd white ones.
Well, one of the most popular commanders in the entire format, and indeed the most popular elf commander in the entire format, is black and green. It's Lathril. Yeah. And
which is what my elf deck was before this. This is Tyvar is one of my commanders.
Yeah. So for my money, he is sitting up there with the other elf commanders are like a really fun way to play. It's commonly referred to as elf ball because elves tend to be quite small, be quite cheap, and they tend to tap for mana. Now, his second ability, each creature you control has, whenever a mana ability of this creature resolves from the number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the amount of mana this creature produced, triggers only once per turn, means that whenever you are tapping an elf for mana, say your classic Llanowar elves, 1 green, play it, tap for green. If you tap it for green, he'll get a 1/1 counter. And then on the next turn, if you tap it for green again, it's only counters. So it'll keep going up by 1. So you are effectively making a board full of mana dorks. You can play more elves, more mana dorks, fill your board out, have hundreds and hundreds of elves, and they're all slowly getting bigger. And if you attack with them rather than use their mana ability, they are getting bigger and bigger. They're not very nice to block. Like, you can see the tactics of this deck evolve very, very organically out of its abilities, which makes sense.
I will say, though, with the second ability, it says each creature you control, so that his second ability is not tied to elves. So you can run any other, Birds of Paradise, you could run in there, have a flying bird that gets 1/1 counters every time you tap it for mana.
You are somewhat preempting some of my cards here, Josh.
Maybe. Yes. For the purposes of this list, I've gone more for the sort of elf tribal, although some of the cards on my list are... I've got mainly creatures. I've got one planeswalker on it. But two of the creatures I have on it are not elves, but they help support the strategy. So, and then Chris's, I think Chris has lent more towards the what if you didn't run elves?
I've gone super weird. You'll get there, but I have gone super weird. All right. I'm going to start with an elf because it's my least exciting example of a card because it just proves the point of what I was making.
Yeah, let's go for the elves first, both of us.
Yeah. So Llanowar Mentor is a single green mana. It's an elf spell shaper. It's a 1/1. Llanowar Mentor, for green, tap and discard a card. Create a 1/1 green elf druid creature token called Llanowar Elves. It has tap, add a green mana. Llanowar Elf is a classic card. We just talked about it. If you play Magic, you've probably seen one before. This is a creature that makes Llanowar Elf tokens. The cost is high. It's a green mana, and you have to discard a card. But what you are creating is a board full of 1/1s that all tap for mana. I've got other things later about how to make other things tap for mana, because that's anything that taps for mana in any way triggers Tyvar.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how they tap for mana. But creatures that naturally have tap for mana on them are really, really good. And if they're elves, they are then also useful as attackers later when you want to start swinging with this huge board state that you're making. So this is like having a repeatable Llanowar Elves on the board. The cost is high. Green, tap, and discard a card is a lot to ask. But if the card you're discarding is a land that you don't need because all of your creatures tap for mana, if the green that you're tapping is off the Llanowar Elves that you just made to make another one, you can see how this cycle starts to perpetuate very, very quickly.
Yeah.
What's your first elf one?
My first elf one, we are kind of diving into... I know it is from Universes Beyond because it's from Battle for Baldur's Gate. It is, and from one of the most popular video games of all time, Baldur's Gate 3. We have Shadowheart, Dark Justica. Now, Justicia, sorry, I always say Justica. I always think of there's a military rank within one of the Space Marine factions that is called Justica, but it's not spelled that way. It takes an eye out. It takes the two eyes out. No,
well,
it takes.
I can tell you,
it takes the I out before the A.
Yeah, because Justicia is French. It's a French military term, and it was from the Crusades. So I think that Space Marines have somewhat adapted it to suit their own purposes.
Oh yeah, a lot of it is. one of the Primarchs was called Lionel Johnson, and
wow.
It is and it literally, when they said, "Where did you get the inspiration from for that name?" and they went, Lionel Johnson.
Mr. Lionel Johnson.
Yeah. Anyway, off topic. Shadowheart, I must say, when I typed in Shadowheart, because of the weird things that Magic Arena does, there's about 4 different versions of Shadowheart because of all the different coloured versions that they've made of the same card, even though they do slightly different things. Yeah, that's called alchemy. So it was difficult to find, but this is the one. She costs a black and 3 legendary creature, human, elf, cleric. For a black and 1 and tap her, sacrifice another creature as the cost. Draw X cards where X is that creature's power, and then choose a background. That's only if she's a commander.
Interesting.
So yeah, tap 2 mana, tap her, sacrifice a creature. So if you've been building up your mana dorks over the course of the game, one of them might be potentially getting killed off either by a spell like Swords of Plowshare or Path to Exile or something, and you've got
blocked in combat,
and it's going to die. You can tap, sacrifice it, and draw cards equal to its power. So there you go. That refills your hand because, card draw is not a difficult thing to come by in green or black, but they know, especially in black, it normally comes with a cost to it. There is, as seen in this card. So it's just a good way for you to get elves in the graveyard.
The old adage is that black draws cards at a price. Green draws cards if you have creatures, so either big creatures or lots of them. You could end up able to draw cards off that. Blue just draws. Blue's fine drawing cards. It used to be its colour pie, like blue draws used to be its thing. Red can exile cards you can play later, usually, and white can draw cards if you're behind. That usually is the process by which these things function. Or whenever someone else draws a card, you draw a card. It tends to be white sort of sat on spot. I think because you are attacking with a whole bunch of death touches, and because mana's clearly not going to be a problem for you because of the way this deck is designed, the ability to pull card draw out of nowhere is no bad thing. I mean, I can see running out of cards over running out of mana in this one, and those are the two resources you have to try and balance as you play. So yeah, makes a lot of sense. In the vein of more creatures, of trying to build up this idea of things that tap, there's a whole bunch of cards that have this effect. Jaheira, another character from Baldur's Gate, is a card that does this. But I'm picking on Cittanul Hierophants here, which is 3 and a green. There's a 3/2 human druid. Creatures you control have tap, add a green mana.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so anything that you make now has the ability to tap and get bigger. And it means you will not have mana problems at all throughout the whole game, because anytime you need mana, just tap a creature, and you'll probably have a lot of small elves, because a lot of elf cards say, not just say make one elf token, they say make an elf token every time X, make an elf token every time Y. You'll build up a huge number of tokens quite quickly. If you then have a way to make them all tap for mana, problem solved. Jaheira is probably more popular, probably a bit cheaper as well, I'd say, in terms of mana cost. But Citadel Hierophant's going to be cheaper in terms of magic card costs, about 12 as far as I can see.
The biggest difference between the two of them as well is the one that you're suggesting says all creatures, whereas Jaheira just says tokens.
Oh, because Pima Renegade, Rishkar does that too. Rishkar, if they have 1/1 counters, they can tap for green mana, but I think it's only tokens as well. Yeah, so finding ways to make everything tap is obviously good. Also, I'm going to jump onto my next card here because it really ties in with this point. If you can then find cards that get bigger by themselves, you are then tapping all of those for more and more mana. So Nadir, Agent of the Duskanel, is a 6 mana elf, 5 and a black, for a legendary 3/3 elf. Whenever a token you control leaves the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on Nadir. And when Nadir leaves the battlefield, create a number of 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens equal to its power.
Oh, so even if it has no 1/1 counters on it, it leaves the battlefield, it still creates 3.
Exactly. That's what it costs 6 mana. Like this is this is definitely meant to be a bit of a threat here. But if you have Citadel Hierophants or any other way to make things tap for mana on the board, you are building up 1/1 counters as things die. You're building up 1/1 counters as you tap Nadir, so keep building this up. If you're then using Shadowheart to sacrifice him, suddenly you've got a huge number of elves, all of whom tap for mana. This is why it's called Elf Ball, because once you start the ball rolling, it just goes and goes and goes and goes.
Bigger and bigger and bigger.
And it's very hard to stop without board wipes and that sort of thing in place.
Fantastic. Right, my next one.
Mm-hmm.
Sticking on the whole sacrificing creatures thing, because anybody would think that Golgari's good at that. One of my favorite cards. Yeah, when I first got into Magic the Gathering, this was one of the very first, like way back in the day, not so much, we're talking like 2015, 2016 sort of time. So it was like one of my second or third attempt at trying to play Magic the Gathering at that point. This was one of the first cards that I was ever introduced to. And it is Jared, Golgari Lichlord.
Oh, such a good card.
Such a good card. He is a zombie elf. He costs 2 green and 2 black to cast. He's a 2/2. Jared gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard, which is fantastic, especially if you've got Shadowheart on the board and you're sacking all the creatures and putting them in the graveyard. Obviously, with tokens, not so much, but with actual creatures putting in, it's good. He then has for green, black, and 1, sacrifice another creature. Each opponent loses life equal to the sacrificed creature's power. That is potentially a game ender. With how much you are building up some of these creatures, especially if you are running the type of mana dorks that say this creature generates a number of mana equal to the number of 1/1 counters it has on it. Yeah. Well, there's a few of those.
I'm about to get to these. Yeah, I've got some of them here. Like there are elves that say tap and generate a mana for each elf you control and stuff like that. Like, these cards exist.
Yeah, Priestess of Titania. The last part of his effects, he has 3 effects, is you can sacrifice a swamp and a forest, return this card from your graveyard to your hand. I'm not too keen on that. If I'm sacrificing 2 lands, I'd prefer he entered the battlefield, but you know, if you play him early game and he gets killed, and then you're at the point towards the end game where you can win the game and you've got plenty of lands on the board and enough mana dorks to tap for mana, then I would do it.
This is a total side note. I play Gerard in my Mimeoplasm deck, which specializes in milling yourself out. Because then your graveyard is full of A, options of Mimeoplasm, B, creatures that get +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard. And Gerard means that if you play the Mimeoplasm, mill out your entire library because you're doing a Hermit Druid or something, then get Gerard back, you can fling the Mimeoplasm, which is a 40/40 at people. Yeah. That's very good.
And just wipes out the entire board.
Yeah.
Oh, you're making me think about putting him in my Tyval deck now.
He's such a good. Yes, speaking of things that get bigger, I'm going to focus on these 2. I've got 3 here, but one of them, these 2 are definitely better. They're not elves, so they won't get the Death Touch ability when they attack, but frankly, you shouldn't be attacking with them. So a Cradle Clear Cutter, which is a bizarro 6 mana artifact creature from Brothers War, is 6 mana 3/6. Tap, add an amount of green equal to Cradle Clearcutter's power. It has got Prototype, which means you can cast it for 2 and a green as a 1/3, then it only taps for 1 mana. Obviously, in this deck, every time you tap it, you're increasing its power. Therefore, next turn, you will tap it for more mana, and you're increasing its power again. It's an exponential curve. What that means is that if you play it for the 6 mana, and then next turn tap it for 3 mana, you are immediately turning it into a 6 power creature, which means next turn you're tapping it for 6, 12, 24, etc. Yeah. So it gets very big very quickly, and it still makes a lot of mana. It doesn't quite have the same cachet as the sort of wide board of Death Touching Elves does. I would only use it as a dork. You know?
Oh yeah. But it frees up your other creatures, your elves, to then become, once they've got enough 1/1 counters on them, to then become aggressive and start attacking. And you're not suffering too much from losing out on the mana that they can produce because you've got this monstrosity behind them.
Yeah, it also has the classic, like, not defender. It's not a defender, but it has the big ass. It's a 3/6.
Yeah.
So if you do need defenders on board, because all of your elves don't have Death Touch when they're on defense, so chances are they're not much use to you as defenders. The ability, therefore, to have a 3/6 to block something big, not complaining. Also, it'll be a 6/9 by the first time you've tapped it, and so on and so on. So it could be a really solid way to not die to Voltron damage. I'm also going to highlight the Big Horner Rancher because it's from Fallout, another set that no one played. 4 and a green for a 2/5 human ranger. Has vigilance, which is great, which means it can attack and won't tap. It also means you can keep it as a defender and then tap it on your turn. Like, there's tricks with vigilance to make that work. Now, he taps to add an amount of green mana equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. So he doesn't even need to be your biggest creature. He can be sat in the back of someone else, slowly accruing counters on the side. And then he too will accrue counters and will tap for exponentially big power if it's him, or if someone else is doing it, he will just get bigger and bigger alongside them. He also has a second ability: sacrifice him, you gain life equal to the greatest toughness among creatures you control. This is because it's not a tap ability, which means you can do it out of turn. If you're about to die and this fella's on the board, then you can suddenly give yourself the power of the largest toughness that you have in life back as a way to Hail Mary not die right before the attack hits.
Which the fact that he's a 2/5 could potentially be him. If you also have the previous card that you said on the board as well, it could be that. That's really good.
I genuinely think, like, dorks that aren't elves, it seems a shame to miss out on Tyvar's ability, the Death Touch ability. Like, I wouldn't not play any elves in this deck. Playing an elfless version of this deck would be a really odd thing to do. But I do think that elves tend to focus on tap this elf for a mana. or make an elf that taps for a mana, or this taps for 2, this taps for 1, or small amounts. There are dorks that tap for really big amounts, but they tend to not be elves. It's not really an elf thing in Magic terms, so I would consider spreading your net a bit wider.
Amazing. So this is my first non-elf card that I'm going to talk about. However, this particular card works really well with Tyvar's first ability, the ability to give all of the elves Death Touch. This is Aveline de Grandpré. If I said that right, probably didn't. She is from, guess what? Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
She costs 2 green and 2. She's a 3/3. The first thing I'll go to her last effect first. She has Disguise for a black and a green, so you can cast a face down by paying 3 generic mana, and she's a 2/2 creature with ward 2, and then you can turn her face up anytime for its disguise cost, which is the green and the black. So that's the first thing. We'll just get that out of the way.
You're never going to use that. No one's going to use that.
No, never going to use that. She has Death Touch, which is really good for this particular deck, and whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, put that many 1/1 counters on that creature.
Oh.
I love running her in my deck.
Man, you now definitely need to run. You need to attack people with the Clear Cutter and with the Bighorn Roger, because then they'll just get bigger and bigger. Tap those 2 for 20 mana next turn. What are you doing? Whatever.
Well, they won't have Death Touch though, because they're not elves, unless you have a way to make them elves.
That's a good point.
Or give them Death Touch through other means.
I suppose we've not said it, but like this is a typal deck because it gives all the elf stuff. So your classic Maskwood Nexuses, any of the Shapeshifter cards, any of the Changeling tribal cards that make something all types until the end of turn, obviously great.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, that's such a cool card.
Such a cool card, yeah.
Brutal.
One of the main reasons I actually made, because my Tyvar deck started off as a Lathril deck.
I know. And
I started getting really annoyed because everyone kept killing, when not so much in mine and Chris's games, because Chris doesn't run much removal, but when playing in other pods, Lathril would always get killed.
Yeah.
And my strategy with Lathril was always, I'm not looking to do her tap 10 elves, deal 10 damage to the board. I just want as many elves on the board so I can overrun. But nobody would believe me when I said that, which is understandable because, the temptation to just tap and deal that damage is everywhere. So she kept getting killed. So I was like, I'm going to put her in the deck and find another one. And I had Tyvar in my bulk, and I was like, he wasn't even in the deck. I had him in there. I was like, I'm going to run him. He's pretty cool.
It's the flexibility problem. It's the same reason why I don't run tutors and why I tend to look down on them a little bit. Obviously, you're welcome to run tutors if you want to. But from my perspective, a tutor is a Swiss Army knife to solve any problem, because you say it's in the deck to make sure I get XYZ, the card that I need, my special hidden commander, whatever. If at the point when you pull if at the point when you have the tutor in your hand or you pull it, you need removal because someone's popping off, or you need a board wipe because someone's popping off, or you need an artifact so you can get another mana so you can play the card that you want, it solves every problem. A tutor is an answer to every single problem that you will have in your deck, which to my mind makes it particularly lazy. Like if that's the way that you want to run your deck, that's your prerogative, obviously. But what tutors set up is an ease to deal with the singleton nature of the format that feels reductive. Like, to jump to a completely different card game, I used to play the Gwent game, and I don't anymore because I reached a level where everyone just played 2 to 3 tutors in every deck, because it just meant that whatever situation you were in, it was solvable. There was no, I can't find the thing that I need. You could always find the thing that you need. It was a question of, depending on what was on the other side of the board, what thing did you need at that point in time? So yeah, that's my vibe on that. And I think Lathril falls into the other side of that, which is I don't have to tap 10 elves to do 10 damage to everyone, but it's right there and I've got 12 elves.
But I can. But that's why I don't play Lathril.
Doesn't mean that I will.
Yeah, that's why I don't play Lathril as my commander. I prefer playing Tyvar. Allowed it to be a lot more aggressive for me. What is your next card, Chris?
Right. You are playing a lot of mana dorks, and mana dorks, by and large, and I think Tyvar even says it specifically. I've not got him open in front of me right now, but they have to tap. Is that right? I mean, you tap a creature for mana.
They have to tap for mana. Yeah.
Right. So the obvious thing there to play is untappers. The game is full of cards that say untap target creature. They tend to be blue. There are quite a lot in green as well. Mostly as give a creature +3/+3 and reach, untap it. Like they're designed to be combat tricks over activate your ability multiple times. This is all well and good, but you're not actually trying to untap one powerful creature with one cool activated ability. Although, let's face it, if you've got something that's tapping for 10 mana, that's a good one to untap. What you want is the ability to untap everything.
Yeah.
Because in an ideal world, you're tapping your entire board for mana, giving them all +1/+1 counters, and then untapping them again so you can attack with them, or untapping them again as defenders, because that's obviously, once they're starting to all be 5/5s, all be 6/6s, like no one can really stop you. It's quite hard to find cards that say untap all creatures you control, like Seedbot Muse is a game changer.
Yeah.
However, there are cards from the history of Magic, especially elf-themed cards, because they realize it's obviously a good way to play elves, that untap all creatures you control. This one is called Vitalize. It's from, this is the 6th edition version. It was originally in Weatherlight. It's an instant for 1 green mana, untap all creatures you control.
Not so simple. Yeah, nice and simple.
I wouldn't, I think because of the way this deck is designed, I would consider it a combat trick, because tap everything for all the mana, you have all the mana in the world, play a whole bunch of creatures that can be defenders or your board state looks pretty healthy, at which point you can either play this and then suddenly attack with all the elves that you tapped, obviously very good, or if you've tapped them all for mana, play 1 or 2 really big things that are going to be big threats, and then someone starts picking things off your board and trying to attack you, you can suddenly untap all of the mana dorks and use them as defenders to not die. I think it's a good thing to have lying around. I wish it was a repeatable effect. There are cards that say, on your end step, untap all of these things, but as I say, the most famous one is a game changer, and that effect doesn't really exist outside of that kind of level of gameplay. So things like this. There's another one called Mobilize, which is from the similar sort of era, which is a sorcery speed one, which is less good, obviously. But you will not find many cards in green that say untap everything. That tends to be more of a blue effect. So I would go searching out for a couple of things like this. And if you are playing the big things that will probably tap for lots of mana, like the 2 I mentioned earlier, or the one Josh mentioned earlier, it doesn't hurt to run Sting the Glinting Dagger, untap the creature on every combat step.
Yeah, just
very cool ability.
Yeah, that one creature, and then because the ability is because Tyvar's ability is once each turn. You can, if you've got Sting attached, which should have been a recommendation to be fair. If you've got, I'll have Sting appear because it is very good. Beginning of every combat, put it on a creature like the construct that Chris mentioned before, and at the beginning of every combat, once you just tap it.
I can't.
By the time it gets around to your turn, that's got 9 +1/+1 counters on it.
More than that, because it's exponential. So
if you tap it keeps going up, doesn't it? Yeah.
If you had a Cradle Clear Cutter that's no longer summoning sick on your turn with Sting attached to it, it taps for 3 on your turn, taps for 6 on the next turn, taps for 12 on the next turn, taps for 24 on the next turn. By the time you get it back, it's a 48 power creature.
Yeah.
I will say I can't in good conscience recommend Sting because it's now a £5 card.
Oh, is it? I have one, so I can put it in the deck if I want to.
I got mine when it was dirt cheap.
Yeah, same. I think I got mine out of a pack, actually.
No, I specially bought mine for Alaundo, which we have to talk about at some point. But yes, that's an untapped deck. So, yeah. What is your next card?
My next card is a card that Chris absolutely hates, but I absolutely love.
The tutor?
It's not a tutor. No, it is a card that is similar to Jared. Is a win con for your deck. He is a human warrior. He costs a green and 1. He is a 1/3. He is Finn the Fangbearer.
Oh, fuck this card.
I love him. My first mono-coloured deck was a Finn the Fangbearer deck. I took it apart because nobody wanted to play against it.
It sucks. It absolutely sucks. And
so
you can't pretend
he's an
it
awesome-looking card. He's an awesome-looking character, so I put him into this deck. He has Death Touch. as everything. You're catching a theme here.
Yeah.
Whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. If you are swinging wide with elves, if you're creating loads of elf tokens, you're going to kill somebody if they haven't got enough creatures to block.
I think it's fair to say with Finn the Fangbearer, with anything with Death Touch, you're just going to kill people really quickly because it's poison counters, and it's very, very hard to totally out-block that kind of attack step without a lot of creatures that you don't mind losing. So unless you're playing against tokens, you're just going to lose very quickly, as I have done repeatedly to that card.
The thing for me with Finn now is it's less that I expect to win with him, and it's more because of the types of elves that I play in my deck and other cards, all of the ones that I've listed, other than Shadowheart, I run in my decks. I haven't been able to pick up a copy of Shadowheart yet. They're all quite important cards to have in the deck, and they're all pretty good targets for an opponent to go, oh, I'm going to remove that, oh, I'm going to remove that, oh, I'm going to remove that. If I have Finn on the board, that's another card on the board that's like, I'm going to win with this if you don't remove it. It's very similar to when we spoke about the Sam and Frodo deck, and I mentioned Frodo Sauron's Bane. I play it in the deck as a win con, but I know for a fact I'm never going to win with it. I've done it once, I think, because as soon as it's on the board, people are like, well, I can see, and same with Finn, I can see that that's how I'm going to die, so I need to remove that card to stop it. Because removal can be quite limited unless it's a board wipe.
It's that thing we've talked about before, where because people don't play as they well shouldn't, like 15, 20 pieces of removal, they play 5 to 10. And the chance of drawing 1 to 2 at the time when you need them is not very high. Therefore, if you do draw removal, you're going to save it for the game-ending threat. And I like to play as you like. You're right, Josh, playing other big threats that are like, if you don't deal with this, you will lose, but I'll also slowly accrue value and win by myself on this side. No issue at all. It's the same reason I like to play cards. I tend to call them rattlesnakes. They're things that you put on the board that just say, don't touch me. There's no reason if you attack me. Like cards that say if you cast an instant, I get to copy it. Like stuff like that. Stuff that says, if you use your removal on me, it's wasted because I'll be able to either return it in kind, it won't affect me in the same way. What's she called? The angel from the Black and White Angel, Liaisa the something. She's an angel that was if sat on the board says everything that dies goes from my graveyard back to my hand. The stuff like you get to return things back, like nothing really dies. Like things like that are so great for having opponents go, well, I can't really stop you with this single target move. You're like, yes, that's correct. That's why I played it.
Exactly.
Josh, I have a whole sort of area where I've gone very weird, which I'd love to go into detail about, but I don't want to like take away from this is your deck, these are things that you play. Are there anything else you want to draw in before I go on a long ramble?
I've got basically 2 more cards that, again, fall into the same bracket. So I'll talk about those last. You go off.
All right. Now, slight correction. Earlier we said you have to tap a creature to get mana to have Tyvar's ability work. That's not what he says. What he says is each creature you control has whenever a mana ability of this creature resolves. So if you have ways of making creatures resolve mana abilities without tapping, which I don't know how you do that, but just for sake of...
There are some creatures that have mana abilities that they can do without tapping them.
Like removing counters and stuff.
Removing counters from them, yeah. There's a couple that came in the Kilo Precon that can do that.
I did think about that, but because you're removing counters and then you're adding them back again, you don't really have a net benefit. Like you can keep removing 5 counters of 5 mana and getting the 5 counters back again, but like it doesn't, I thought about talking about some of those, but actually compared to cards that just build up to metric tons of, why would you do it? Like it's not quite as good.
It's just something that sits more on the board as a consistent way to generate you mana. Plus, a lot of the cards that we've spoken about, there are very few cards, other than one I'm going to speak about in a minute, that say to tap for a different color other than green, whereas that particular card, which I'll have it pop up now, says you can tap it for any color. So
what crystalline crawl are we talking about?
Yeah, that one. Yeah. Enters with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the number of mana spent, the different colors of mana spent to cast
Sunburst,
it.
Yeah, it's got Sunburst, I think.
Yeah. and then remove a counter from it to give yourself a mana of any colour. And you can do that at instant speed. So if you've got a card in hand, like an instant, like Vitalise in hand, you can just remove them on one counter from that, do that, get the ability off of Tyvar.
The reason why I bring this up is whenever a mana ability of this creature resolves, mana abilities, that's very open-ended. In specific, the game has quite a few ways for you to turn lands into creatures.
Mm.
And if you turn a land into a creature and resolve its mana ability, i.e. tap a land for mana, it will get 1/1 counters. It works in exactly the same way. So you could, instead of having just creatures on board that mana dorks that you tap that become bigger, you can actually start having all of your lands becoming lands and creatures that tap for mana and get bigger to have an even wider board swing out when you need it. For example, this is an old card. It's called Living Lands. It's an enchantment. It's from, dear God, what is that symbol? Revised? Christ.
1 second. There's one. It's fine. There's one that I don't have open. I will tell you.
3 and a green.
30th Anniversary Edition, Masters Edition, Classic 6th Edition,
Revised.
5th Edition, 4th Edition.
It's from Revised. I'm looking at it right now. It's from Revised.
Yeah, Revised, yeah. I'll just go through the list.
3 and a green, Living Lands. It's an enchantment. All forests are 1/1 creatures that are still lands. At its base level, all of your forests on the board, and you will have probably between 5 and 10 on the board by the time you start getting to the point where you're going to swing out. All of them now are also creatures. So if you tap them all for mana as part of your regular turn, they will all get 1/1 counters, which means you can also use them to swing out and attack the board. It means they are susceptible to removal and board wipes, which is not fantastic, but if you played this on a turn, tapped all your mana to do various things, and then next turn you've got another 5 1/1s, well 5 2/2s could all have a counter on them. That's another 10 damage on top of what you're already doing for the next time you attack. This is just a really easy way to start building up this idea of making lands creatures.
And then if you've got Maskwood Nexus on the board, they're all elf lands.
Josh?
Yeah.
Ambush Commander, 3 and 2 green, which is an elf from Scourge. Forests you control are 1/1 green elf creatures that are still lands.
Amazing.
And it also has 1 and a green, sack an elf, target creature gets +3/+3 end of turn. Why would you ever use that? But yeah, you can see where the idea is forming now. Suddenly all of your lands are death-touching, attacking elves. Now, that's where I started, and then it got weird, because let's keep going with this, because there are many, many cards that let you animate lands. Animating lands is not a new thing. It's been around for yonks. It's often a very green ability, so you find it elsewhere. Harmonious Emergence is 3 and a green. It's an aura from Kamigawa, from Neon Dynasty. Enchant land you control. Enchanted land is a 4/5 green spirit creature with vigilance and haste. It's still a land.
Oof.
Yeah. And if enchanted land would be destroyed, instead sacrifice Harmonious Emergence and that land gains indestructible until end of turn. There aren't many cards that do this. What they're doing, because the idea of animating your lands has been around since, I think, Zendikar when they first started doing it. There's a big thing that Awaken was a keyword in Zendikar, I think, where the idea was put counters on your lands. It's a creature, you can hit people with your lands, often giving them haste as well. But if the creature dies, you lose your land. People didn't like that much. So this is an attempt to move away from that into how do we make this land do everything we want it to do, but also you don't lose your land if the creature dies. Which then leads me into Earthbending. And what Earthbending does is it puts counters on lands, and then those lands can attack. And the land gains vigilance as well. And if the land would die, it loses its ability to be a creature and becomes a land again. So all of Tyvar's abilities kick in with Earthbending as well. Tyvar and Toth, who'd have known they were best buds? I'm also going to highlight there's another land animation card here that I particularly like, and also then a trick. So Rootwise Survivor, 3 and 2 green. It's a survivor from Duskmourn, a human. It's a 3/4, has haste. At the beginning of your second main, if Rootwise Survivor is tapped, put 3 1/1 counters on up to 1 target land you control. That land becomes a 0/0 elemental creature in addition to other types. It gains haste. So you can immediately, if that land is not tapped yet, tap it for mana to make it a 4/4. And you can do that every turn as long as the Rootwise Survivor is tapped after your combat phase, which either means attacking, or if you have Citadel Hierophants out, tapping it for mana earlier in the turn. I want to point out with this that this is very cool, and also there are lands that tap for multiple mana. And a lot of lands tap multiple mana are very expensive and hard to come by. There's a whole cycle of enemy filter lands from... Oh, I'm not sure where that's from. PIP. Not sure. But enemy filter lands, more filter lands, some various dual lands, Golgari Rot Farm and Twilight Mire I've got here as well. These are lands that, when they enter, you either bounce a land back to your hand, or you've got to pay a mana in to get 2 mana out.
Yeah.
With Tyvar on the board and these lands on the board, if they're turned into creatures somehow, they will get 2 1/1 counters every turn because they've tapped for 2 mana, so they will again become bigger, faster. So if you want to go down the animating lands route, which I think would be the coolest way to make this deck, honestly, you should then be playing as many dual tapping lands as you possibly can to make it work even better.
You've also got the ridiculously expensive ones that say this card taps for a number of mana equal to the number of swamps or forests or something you control.
I see, like
Gaia's
Cradle and stuff like that. Yeah.
But those are ridiculously expensive.
I'm not recommending game changers.
No, I'm just saying those are other cards, but yeah.
I had this brainwave the other day that it was nice of Watsy to give us a list of cards that you shouldn't play with friends, that are mean, that are not fun to play, and called them game changers, which, yeah, sure.
Any more cards on your list?
No, that was my big, make Tyvar the Land Animator. That was my big, strange one for this time around.
He's big, he's gruff, he makes everything Death Touch, now he's an Earthbender.
Oh, Tyvar the Earth. Oh, how weird. Because Tyvar's Planeswalker ability that now he has kept, despite no longer being a Planeswalker, I don't understand what's he doing, is his ability. He touches an element, he can make his entire body that element. It's how he survived, because he survived going to Phyrexia, because he got some Hexgold. Hexgold can't be Phyrexianized. It's a thing that Mirrans have. And he just touched him when his entire body's made of Hexgold. Cool. They can't touch me.
That's cool. Speaking of Tyvar as a Planeswalker.
Sorry. I'm so excited about this. In Duskmourn, because the house is evil, he touches the walls of the house and becomes part house, and thus can't be corrupted by the house as well, and it's very odd.
Yeah. Do you know what that's called?
No.
Plot armor.
Yeah, very definite plot armor.
But speaking of Tyvar as a Planeswalker, this was originally just going to be one recommendation, but it's actually going to be 2 now. It is 2 of his Planeswalker forms.
Yes.
The first one is Tyvar Kell, which is a 2 green and 2 Planeswalker, comes in with 3 loyalty. He has a static ability, which is elves you control have tap to add black.
Oh, perfect. Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, fantastic. His +1 ability is put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target elf, untap it. It gains Death Touch until end of turn.
Yeah.
Basically, what his effect is as a non Planeswalker.
The untap it's a nice touch there, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because you can tap it, tap a Llanowar Elves with your commander on the board and this Planeswalker on the board. Tap it for 1 green mana, put a 1/1 counter on it. Then use this Tyvar's +1/+1 ability to untap it to put a 1/1 counter on it, and then tap it. But then you can't tap it again to put another 1/1 counter on it because the commander only does it once per turn. But
he says once per turn. Yeah.
But you've got an untapped 3/3 Llanowar Elves.
That's very cute. Yeah.
His 0 cost is create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. Again, very good, especially considering the fact that he also gives it the ability to tap for black when it's not summoning sick.
Yep.
His -6 is you get an emblem with whenever you cast an elf spell, it gains haste until end of turn and you draw 2 cards.
Tap it immediately. Yeah.
Oh yeah, fantastic. Very good card.
Also, he very notably makes add black mana. We were saying it's quite hard to find things that say tap creature dorks that say tap add 1 black mana.
Yes.
Yeah, interesting.
Especially in elves, but yes.
Yeah.
And then his other form is Tyvar Jubilant Brawler.
Yes.
This is green and black and 1. Comes in with 3 loyalty. Has a static ability. You may activate abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures had haste. What is an activated ability? A mana ability.
Not all of them, but most of the ones we're talking about, yeah, they are.
Most of the ones we're talking about, yeah. Most of the like Llanowar elves and Llanowar tribes and all of that are tap abilities. So he has a +1, which is untap up to 1 target creature. Again, fantastic if you tap it for mana and then untap it to block or attack.
Cool.
And then his -2, which you're probably not going to use that often. Mill 3 cards, then you may return a creature card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield.
I mean, I don't know. Like, that's a free card.
Yeah.
That's a free creature on the battlefield every time you do it, if you've got enough small elves in your deck. I seriously think, like, the ability to use his ability to probably play another card, especially another creature, I wouldn't knock it. That's surprisingly good.
And now, after the piece of lore that you've just told me about Tyvar,
yeah,
the artwork on this particular Planeswalker is even better.
Because
his arm is half metal, and he's punching something that's metal.
Well, he's punching a Phyrexian. This is his card from All Be One, which is when he and the other Planeswalkers went to Phyrexia to try and stop Elishnorn and absolutely failed. And he managed to get away because the Phyrexians couldn't really convert him, and like the Jock got away. And yeah, that's him with his arm made of Hexgold. That's what that is.
Yeah, I just think that's a brilliant piece of artwork. Anyway,
so we should say about Tyvar, and it's a sad thing we've got to this point in the episode when I mentioned it. Tyvar never wears a shirt, and it's an important character defining thing for him, is that he never wears a shirt. People around him always notice and go, maybe I shouldn't wear a shirt. It's always.
Do you know who that reminds me of? And this might be a bit of a deep cut for a lot of people, especially if you're not really an anime fan, but it reminds me of a character called Grey from Fairy Tail.
Yes.
He's wearing clothes sometimes, and other times he's not.
Genuinely, I think the first episode of Duskmourn when who meets Tyvar? Zimone. When Zimone meets Tyvar, she goes, "That man's not wearing a shirt." Like, it's so nice.
Isn't he?
Tyvar never wears a shirt.
Isn't his Duskmourn one with him wearing a shirt though?
No, he's got a little jumper on. I think a little.
It's a sleeveless. It's a sleeveless
No, it's his chest still bare. If you look, it's a little it's supposed to look like an 80s jock.
Yeah.
See? Yeah.
It's supposed to be like a literally he's supposed to be a jock in that, isn't he? With a
he's genuinely got a fanny pack in this picture. I don't know what to tell you.
Amazing. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'll have that picture come up. It's Tyvar the Pummeler from Duskmourn, just so you can see it.
I will say, it's not Tyvar the Pummeler is also not a bad card in this deck. It doesn't really do much in it, but I think you should have it for the lols, if nothing else.
Yeah. Have all of the Tyvars in the deck. Yeah. Anyway, that's it for today's episode. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. We will be back in a couple of weeks with our next commander. If you want to watch more content that we do D&D content on Mondays on our Twitch channel from 6 p.m. UK time. You can go check all of that out, and we do other things on Patreon and YouTube as well. Join our Discord. It'll be linked down below, and follow us on all the socials, again linked down below. Tells you what we're doing, when we're doing, and how we're doing things. But other than that, I've been Josh, they've been Chris, sitting in their throne. We're gonna go. Bye.